Well, greetings.
Welcome to the real room.
What up?
Well, greetings. I got a lot of questions for you, Mike. So I'm gonna let y'all get y'all.
I got a lot of questions too.
Y'all got
a lot of questions for me?
Use this arm.
Yeah.
My bad.
Oh,
I don't want my flesh to be a distraction.
So let me set it up because I want to jump right in. Welcome to the real room. Thank you all so much for joining us, for tuning in. If you have, if this is your first time joining us, you can tell we haven't did this in a minute. My name is Colanda. Yes.
This is Stanley.
And we are here for Real Talk Live. And here in the real room, we have, I'm going to let you introduce our guests.
Yes. We have he's not really a guest because he's been to the real room before.
I know, but he kind of got a little bit, not a little bit.
He's gotten more famous.
Since
he's been on here.
Oh,
great. He's great.
He's rubbing elbows with Jonathan Nelson and
won a couple of Stellars.
Yeah. So we have to reintroduce him to the people. They may not know him anymore.
Under his belt now,
Yeah.
Number one singles that chart topping artists,
Yeah.
Move over Todd Delaney.
Yeah. Y'all just singing that.
Move over Chandler Moore. Move. Get out of the way.
Stop it, man. Stop this.
Man, and the way he cut up so bad Saturday. Oh my God. He cut up so bad.
I know. That's the only thing about like at home going, somebody sing like that. It's like, y'all trying to turn this into worship? Like, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be sad, celebrating. We gonna worship.
I didn't even feel like worshiping because this dude right here, he might gonna make you worship. And I'm like, wait a minute, yeah, what you call it, doing this? So yeah, he killed me. But anyway, he's our special guest tonight, and but anyway, outside of all of the great accomplishments that he has done, he is probably, honestly, and I'm not being biased with this. I'm really not being biased with this, but I will say Mike is probably one of my favorite worship leaders, and I'm really not being biased. I'm just stating pure facts because I know Mike, and I know Mike. If any out of all the worship leaders, Mike is really saved for real. So he means heaven. Now some of them they don't, but Mike really does. So yeah, I want to just say that publicly, but none other than Mr. Michael Holloway, the world renowned.
You got to say Michael J.
My J. Holloway.
It has like a real fancy ring to it when you add the J.
Yeah.
Michael J. Holloway.
Oh, and by the way, we are cousins. Everybody don't know that.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been seeing Stanley say that
but seriously, we're legit. Like we
legit cousins.
About 2 years ago.
Third cousins or something.
It don't matter. So it runs in the family. It runs in the family.
I see you trying to sing in your stories the other day. I'm like,
I did. Mike, you got to sing with Michael. He gonna make you sing, so you got to. I'm like, I ain't gonna let Mike do me on my stories.
Oh Lord. Oh my goodness.
Were y'all related on your dad's side or your mom's side?
It's actually my dad's side. It was so crazy. Mike, I don't know if you remember this. We gonna say this, then we're gonna start the show. When I first met Mike, that's when me and Kalanda, we was at
it was there, but it's called the Sustainment Center now.
Yeah, we were there. And so after the service, I didn't know who Mike was from a can of paint. After service, I went in here, I was like, man, we do young adult conferences. I would love to have you a part, So we exchanged information, this and that and other. So as time went on, it's like me and Mike just instantly got close for some reason. And so Mike made a statement. He was like, man, I don't know why. He said, but you just like family to me. Like, I just feel like you family. And long story short, I be doggone. I'm not gonna say what the world will say. I'm gonna say doggone.
You be George.
I be George. A lady told me, she was like, a lady that knows my family very well. She said, do you know a guy by the name of Michael Holloway? I said, yeah, that's my dog. That's my dude. She said, well, y'all are cousins. I said, yeah, right. So she told me how it worked, and I talked to Mike. Come find out, it just happened to be that way.
Yeah, I was in the prophetic, and I didn't know it.
Didn't even know it.
I remember that event, and we was like, watch what I'm gonna say. because there was a lot of stuff that happened at that event.
Please, because I did enjoy all the artists that were participating that night.
But yeah, I remember Mike, and we was like, "Who is this?"
Mike just stood out for some reason.
Well, we bless the Lord for that.
Because Mike is saved for real.
Yeah.
I try to be.
Yeah, he's saved for real. Mike going to, if anybody going to heaven, Mike Holloway's going to heaven. y'all take that to the bank.
But that was gonna be one of my first questions. And how do we know, like, you know, good worship is hard to find in Jacksonville these days. I'm gonna just say it like that.
Okay.
It's a little hard to find, Stanley. Don't act like that. Stanley, is it not, Stanley?
Well, I'm a worshiper myself, so
but I mean, like a good praise and worship team. It's like it's hard to find churches that have like good word and great praise and worship. It's like one or the other.
It can be hard.
So people seem to be like flocking towards more like, well, let me get a praise and worship leader, someone who's skilled in this area. But I've been, I don't know if you remember this, Mike, when you were at the house one time when we were doing this at the show, you and Marcus were like playing around.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Stanley was about to get serious because y'all were just like
playing
the right. Like, so how, as a praise and worship leader, do you like your performance persona like cuts off and then it's just Michael up here singing and worshiping God? Because I feel like sometimes it's hard to distinguish. I don't know if I'm like in a concert or are we in church, worshiping. Like, you're supposed to be the praise and worship leader, but like you giving a concert. How do you make sure that you maintain those boundaries?
Well, you said it perfectly. I think it is a clear difference between Michael J. Holloway and Michael Holloway, the worship leader. The worship leader has to always put in the forefront what is needed for that particular body. And it can't be, I'm not there to necessarily perform one of my songs or a song that they request for me to perform. I am there to just simply get people in the presence of God. There are times where I've stood on stage and I have not sung a song, but there have just been words that will flow from my mouth and worship is automatically going to the next level. Not because of how good I am, but
right.
but because of the posture that we present ourselves as a body. Because you said hard worship is hard to find. Well, as hard as it is to find, it is actually hard to do. I heard, I believe it was Pastor YPJ that said it this way. He said, love, some people say love is hard to find, but love is actually hard to do.
Yep.
And I think it is the same way with worship. While it can be hard to find, it is also hard for some people to do, because worship takes, I believe this with all of my heart, it takes a special relationship to worship anything. You get what I'm saying? And whenever you speak on worshiping something, that that is more than just what the thing can do for you. You're worshiping what it is to you.
We're not going to pay that flesh any attention. But anyway,
yeah, it's hard though. Like, especially if you hear one praise and worship leader, and then like other people start popping up. You're like, oh.
So
why I come late to some churches.
Y'all stop doing that. So and I make it a habit of letting everyone at our every leader at our church. It is not just one worship leader that we have. Well, I'm privileged to lead worship. Shouts out to Pastor Link Washington, man. Where I'm privileged to lead worship at Legacy Ministries. But we have multiple people that lead worship. I'm not up singing all the time.
That's good.
Yeah, and you don't, because sometimes the issue is that we get too caught up in personalities, and we get too grounded in who's singing and not who we're singing to. Oh yeah, they were good, but I like it when they sing that song. I don't own any song. and I tell this at every worship team that every church that I've ever been a part of, I don't own a song. This is not my song.
Right.
Anyone can sing praises to God from, whether it's, no matter what song you're singing, I don't own a song. We don't own those songs. God doesn't have he doesn't have a particular person that he wants to sing a certain song. And so that's just my opinion. And I just believe in sharing the worship experience with other people. And so we're not caught up in personalities and in what people, their own, oh, I like when this person sing and I like when that person sing. We should be so, how can I say this? We should be so used to getting in the presence of God until we can enter in no matter who's singing.
And though, I want to say this because like for instance Saturday, for y'all that don't know, one of our, I will say this, one of our faithful Real Room listeners, viewers, he went home to be with the Lord like unexpectedly. So his homegoing service was Saturday. So but everybody, I mean, and like, yeah, the praise was definitely there. And but it was just, and I'm not saying it to be biased or saying who was better than who, because I believe everybody that got up did a phenomenal job and represented. But in moments like that, I could literally saw like how you took a moment and where people could really be like crying and upset and still questioning God, but it's like you literally ushered this whole sanctuary into like worship. And so my question to you as a worship leader, is that what kind of burden? I thought something was coming. What this Real Room, y'all know we this Real Room, everybody, we virtual, we home. So anyway, but what type of burden is that? Like, how does that feel? Like, is that like a certain weight? Like, or was it just something, or is it something just natural that you just do easily?
I would say it is somewhat of a burden, but I think that's why. But before that, I went and got in the place alone, and I just prayed and I asked God what He wanted me to do. And sometimes, we carry too heavy of a burden in moments like that because we're too caught up in what's going on, and we can't think beyond the moment. And so, I'm reading these comments, and we can't think beyond the moment. And so, for me, I try to just find a moment where I can get to myself and I can talk to God and I can figure out what He wants me to do. What part do you want me to play in the atmosphere? And yes, it can be, in the flesh, yeah, it can be like, oh my goodness, it could be a little nerve-wracking. I'm nervous every time I sing. Every time. It doesn't matter.
Really?
I am. I don't. Stanley, stop this. Stop this. I am. I don't care what he say. I am nervous every time I sing. No, I'm not. I'm nervous every time I sing, but I do pray that God calms my spirit and give me a peace about whatever He tells me. And sometimes it's hard because sometimes you have to go against the grain. God can tell you to go a certain way, and you be like, God, I don't. In here, and He like, yeah, in here. And so God rewards you for that type of obedience. And I am a witness to that. He will reward you for that kind of obedience. So yeah, to answer your question, it can be burdensome, but I think if you give it to God, He'll help you carry it.
You mentioned like that you asked the Lord, what do you want me to sing?
Yeah.
There are perhaps praise and worship leaders who don't do that. So I guess my question is being a worship leader something that we can teach people to do, or is like your own personal worship required in order to be a worship leader? Can we teach you how to lead people into worship?
Ooh, that's a question there. Ask that question again because I want to make sure I heard exactly what you said.
I want to know. Can it be taught? Everybody, not everybody, but there are people who have like they're having like these vocal academies and all these things, and they're getting all of the skill on how to sing and how to engage your audience. But I guess how important is like personal worship in order to achieve being an effective worship leader?
Oh, I believe that's paramount. You got to do that. If you don't have any personal time with God, any private time with God, there can be no public revelation of it. If you have no personal, it will become very weird to me on stage if I just started doing something on stage that I don't do at home. Like after a while, it's gonna tell on you.
It does.
After a while, it's going to tell on you. It's going to tell on you because eventually you're going to get in an atmosphere. You're going to get in a place in an atmosphere where you can't navigate in this place because you have not spent any time there.
That's right.
And if you don't spend any time at a certain place, once it gets to that place on stage, the Bible says this.
What did it say?
Hush, Stanley. The Bible says, y'all remember the story about Samson and Delilah. Bible says that Samson says, I will shake myself as I have done in times past. And the Bible says he did not know that the Lord had left him. But here's the thing about it. The devil embarrasses him when he gets on a big stage to defeat enemies. And he didn't know that he no longer had what he had before. And to answer your question, he had done something in private that had messed him up in public. And a lot of times we think that we can get on stage and shake ourselves again. And that is when it's revealed. The devil don't wait to reveal to you in private that you done lost it. He waits till you get on the stage so he can embarrass you.
And that's why people let me show up late in church. Because I don't want to hear all that.
And so he waits. He waited until he was surrounded by all of these enemies that he could not defeat. And so and every one of us have been guilty of it. We have gotten to a place to where I can sing this song again and it'll work. I can do this again and it'll work. And the problem is it wasn't in routine, it was in his relationship. And we focus too much on routine and not relationship. So that's the first part. That's the first answer to your question. Can it be taught? I believe it can be taught. I believe it can be taught. I just think the question would be, are we willing to listen?
That's good.
It can be taught. Because everybody started at a place where they weren't as comfortable or in a place to where they weren't as expressive in their worship as they are today. I was not always here. And there is still a ways I have to go. A long ways I gotta go. And so, if God continues to allow me to do this, I'll look back on these days and say, man, I'm glad I was able to develop from even this point to wherever the next place God takes me, and say, hey, there are things that I'm still learning that I have to be taught, that I still need to glean from. And so, yes, it can be taught, but the question is, are we willing to listen, and do we have the right teachers?
See, Mike, you need to do a workshop one day, like a worship seminar workshop or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because
I don't think nobody's teaching this.
They're just trying to curate worship experiences that Pastor Scales used this phrase last night. He said they're spirited, but they're not spiritual experiences.
Yeah, man.
And the person can sing, they're skilled, and it's like,
yeah, And a lot of times, man, we get these comments is wiping me out. And a lot of times we get into it was one of my greatest friends in the world. He told me this. He said, man, don't ever get into people pleasing. A lot of times we sing stuff because people want us to do it. And that's the song that they like. And that's the song I want to hear. Have we ever thought about what God wants to hear?
Ooh.
I mean, to me, y'all.
It's real room, Mike. Free yourself.
It baffles me sometimes of how we just, I want to hear this. I want to hear this. That's cool. But if you surrender your ears to his, what would it
sound like?
What would it do? What would it sound like? Would it be a praise break? Would it be warfare? Would it be worship? Whatever he wants at that moment, that is what's needed for deliverance. And I think a lot of times we don't experience what we need to experience. It is because we are not willing to ask ourselves, what does he want to hear? What does he want?
So it is possible, because you know how some people be like, they'll rehearse, and then when it's time to get on, get in the pulpit or to worship, they be like, I feel like the Lord is leading us to sing this today. And you know, some musicians, I'm not gonna call no names, but some get upset, be like, that ain't what we rehearsed. So
yeah,
is that possible though? Like for the Lord to change your song at the moment?
Absolutely. Sunday we were in church, and I y'all, when I'm in worship, I just say it. So I was literally in worship, and I looked over at the band. I'm on stage, and we streaming, and there's people in there. I said, hey man, I know we ain't rehearsed this, but we going this way. And so, and a lot of times I string songs together because in those moments I can hear what's supposed to come next and what's gonna help us get to a place. And so, that happens. Todd Delaney, I absolutely love. He does it all the time. It's just spontaneous worship, but it's successful when everybody is tuned into the same thing.
Yeah.
Because the problem is that there is a disconnect when one person has the agenda of what they want to do, and another person has the agenda of what God wants to do. And it's going to be a fight on stage, and therefore nothing gets accomplished in the atmosphere. Nothing.
How do you work that out with your band so that they can be agile enough to go with where you're going?
Well, a lot of times, so if I'm in rehearsal with the band, and I'm kind of privileged to be in there with them, and we're kind of, now this doesn't happen all the time, but if that shit.
There should be evidence.
I agree. There should be evidence.
That's true. Yeah, it should be. It should be. Now, if he gives you a change, there should be something that just like, oh my God, yes, that's what. Go ahead, Stanley. Because
no, go ahead. Answer your question. I'm keeping it up so I won't forget.
There should be. He's absolutely right. There should be evidence to say, oh my God, yes, that's where we need it to go. And it will be apparent. Everybody in the room will be able to feel it. Go ahead, Stan.
So because the songs may have the same melody, does that always mean that that's the right transition?
No, that does not mean.
Or the same word. Or the same words, like now we're gonna sing all these songs that have the word love in it.
They try to transition into another song. Like,
I understand what you're saying, and sometimes I do it all the time. Sometimes it works, but I believe everything should make sense. I don't think God does anything where it's leaving you like, you know, he's not the author of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's in your presence, it's even if right now you can't understand it, it's gonna make some sense. Everything to me has to make sense. So flows, even though the melody may be the same, that may not necessarily be what's gonna be needed at that moment in time. You may not even need to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah,
they got a question. They want to ask their question in the comments.
Go ahead.
We'll keep talking till they post their question.
Okay. But yeah, to answer your question, Kalenda, yeah, it can't be taught.
About the band?
About the band. Okay, so the band. So me personally, I know how to play. So a lot of times if I kind of know the chord of what's next, I'll just hold up the number to the band and give it to them as we're going until they catch it. And then we're able to kind of flow together. But I always try to tell them, let's be open to changes. If, you know, it goes left or if it goes this way, whichever way it's going to go, we have to be open to whatever God wants to do at that moment.
I think I want to also do like,
it helps to have a band that is open to it, that's open to say, okay, cool, he going here, let's go with him. Let's not leave him, you know, leave him out there to dry, you know, by himself.
Right.
So, go
and
ahead.
I understand they also probably should have some level of skill so that they can shift with you at some point, which is a fine line, because I know, especially in our culture, we have a lot of like homegrown musicians. They learn to play by ear. And they may not be as skilled musically, because if we're singing the same songs, that's what they know how to play more than anything. So it may be difficult, but I understand that it should be some level of skill on both ends. I was gonna ask next, like, what do you think is the resume for a worship leader? Because right now the resume is if they can sing.
No.
What else?
Well, I think that now let's be, since we're in the real room, let's be real about it. I don't think you should get up there sounding like, you know, you've been, You've been so
your wife waiting for you to respond.
Katrina, baby, don't do this. Don't do this to me, baby. But yes, you should have a level of skill to be able to sing, because there are some moments where the atmosphere is not going to be God is not going to move in the same way every time. He may not move how he moved last week. This may be a week to where we just need to have a great atmosphere so that the people will be open to listen to teaching. And so, you know, at that moment, it takes certain skills in worship to sing certain songs. I can't sing high praise like I would sing a song from Maverick City.
Right.
Those are two totally different feels. Those are two totally different skill sets that you would need to have. I think also you would need to have some leadership skills, because you're going to have to lead the band and you are going to have to lead the praise and worship team. And that may cause for you to have to deal with different attitudes. That may cause for you to have to deal with different personalities. That may cause for you to have to deal with different situations. To where if you are the worship leader of a church, to where the pastor is not really hands-on, everything may not be able to be taken to him. Some things you are going to need to have to deal with on your own, so that he does not have to deal with minute problems that you can handle on your own, because you have leadership skills.
Well, that's good.
Because if he's going to entrust you to oversee a music ministry, which is very important in the church, you are going to have a certain skill set that will allow you to be able to diffuse certain situations, to be able to handle certain things when they arise, especially in the area in this new era that we're in, as far as like streaming, and then with the whole COVID thing and all these things that are going on. You do have to have a certain level of skill set of leadership. I think not only that, of course, I think you need to know how to be able to teach a praise team not how to sing, because not how to sing, but necessarily how to conduct themselves on stage while they're singing.
What if they can't sing though? Like,
don't do this, Stanley. Don't. No.
No,
listen,
I really want
I'm
to
not
know
gonna
that, because if a person can't sing and they really want to be a part of a praise team or the choir or something like that, do we tell them no?
Yeah. Respect. Here we go. All right. Since you want to do this, since you want to do this, this is where leadership skills come in. You have to learn how to tell them that this is not your ministry.
Ooh.
This is not the area for you.
But I've known people that has been in the choir that can't sing, but they sing in the choir.
I think the choir is different because they can like hide you, but praise.
I ain't gonna get on different. That, but I know, I know this. And a funny situation. I have been in a situation where me and another worship leader, we were at the same church. We were both worship leaders, and we had to tell a couple people that this, thank you.
Bless your heart.
They meant it in love, but they meant it in love.
But this, we don't believe that this. Oh goodness.
You got a question. As a worship leader, what do you suggest a worship leader should do to keep the pastor from having to do praise and worship over again? I guess when I saw it, I'm thinking like, did he enjoy it so much he wanted to keep going, or are we saying like he didn't even like it?
But you can't really control that though, can you?
No, there's nothing. Okay, so here we go. There's really nothing you can do. Okay. So here. Oh man, that is a real. I'm trying not to really go there.
It's the real room, Mike.
Oh man, boy, y'all pushing it tonight. Boy.
Help the people.
Y'all pushing it tonight. All right. So here we go. There are a few reasons I believe these things happen. One, it could be that he senses something in the atmosphere. There's a place that the church itself needs to get to, that he feels like he needs to take it. And that's no slight to the worship leader, because him being the head of the house, he has the ability to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And him being the head worship leader of the church, really, if you really want to be technical, he's the... Okay. Oh, I thought it was a comment. He's the head worship leader. So they're going to follow, I believe, they follow suit of what the pastor does. If the pastor is a worshiper,
mm-hmm,
then the church will be full of worship. It has to. His identity will eventually get on the people that he leads. So sometimes he could feel like, hey, there's a place where we need to get, and we need to push it, and we need to be. And that's no slight to the worship leader. That's just something that the pastor is going to do because he feels like there's a place that we need to go. But should he say every Sunday? Next,
yeah, we're gonna move on, because
so, and then too, here are some other things.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, like you said, Kalanda, they could be enjoying it so much until they say, hey man, I got to get some of this. Hey, we're gonna continue on in worship, man. This way it's good. I'm flowing here. Other times,
I have, but you know what though? I'm gonna say this because I can say this, Mike. You can't say this.
Okay, yeah.
I have literally seen pastors kill the spirit
Oh yeah.
The worship leader has really set the tone. The atmosphere is wide open. People are really reaching out to God and crying out to God. And I have literally seen pastors kill the spirit. Like they got up there and they like we all singing Waymaker, Miracle Worker, and they got up there singing He's an on-time God. I have seen it happen.
Whole
And
nother genre.
yeah,
Yeah.
like a whole different like thing. And I feel like it's a very controlling spirit when you want to kind of make it what you want it to be in. So I've seen it happen, but I think a lot of times, and now you correct me if I'm wrong because you worship leader. A lot of times, a lot of these pastors are not in sync with their worship leaders. You know, they're in one direction and the worship leader is another. So how could they both? How could you marry the two? Where you know what I'm saying? Where they both kind of could understand each other and fill each other out.
Okay, so I think it's a great importance that the worship leader and the pastor have a good relationship. And I'm talking about
Personally or spiritually?
both.
Okay.
Because I'm okay. Naturally, I may give cues.
They do need the Holy Ghost.
You do. Absolutely. Hey, that's 100. You need it. You you need that to walk every day in this life. Not only just to be a worship leader. You need that just for living, period.
Right.
So yeah, yeah. But to answer your question, I think naturally and spiritually, you should have a good relationship because there are some cues that I could give you in the natural where you would say, hey, he's not ready yet, or something. You get what I'm saying? If I don't, it's I mean, I'm gonna just say it straight up. It's hard to work with somebody that you don't like.
Yes.
Ask me how I know.
I know.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
And so I think it is important for the worship leader and the pastor to have a good natural and a good spiritual relationship because I'm saying this not literally, but the marriage between the two has to work in order for it to go hand in hand, in order for things to be right. You get what I'm saying? Whenever he gets up, and if that works, let me tell you something. If that relationship is strained, the people can sense that and see that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it is going to become a glaring issue because y'all will be on two different pages. And sometimes it is an ego problem that causes these relationships not to work.
Teach them. Teach the people, man.
Because it is arrogance that has set in, sometimes on one party or sometimes on both, that won't allow either parties to be respectful of the gift that is given to both of them. Now I'm gonna leave that alone. But sometimes it is an ego issue.
I agree. Absolutely. We got another question. Somebody asking a bunch of questions, but they want to know, should the worship leader study and reflect the pastor?
I believe you should know. Okay, to answer that question, I believe you should know what the pastor's vision is for that house. I believe you should know his heart and understand the culture of the church in which you're leading worship. Because if you're pushing something that the pastor is not pushing, that's a conflict in itself already. And you have to understand the culture in which God has given him to give to those people. And you have to be within the culture of what he is trying to present to that particular body. I don't think you, and this is just me. I don't think you should try to book against that because this is what, again, here we're going back to, this is kind of ego driven because this is what you feel,
Right.
What is the culture of this house and what is this particular body of Christ trying to build? And how can I help that come to fruition?
And if you don't want to help, then this isn't where you should be serving.
Yeah, if you're not trying to help that. And sometimes, let me say this, and sometimes that's how we can recognize that we're out of place. Because it'll become too straining and it'll become too frustrating.
I got a question, but somebody else got another question. I'm gonna ask my question after we.
They almost want Mike to give like a worship leader 101. They're asking about, make comments about their attire, how worship leaders should be dressed.
They don't. He's telling the truth. They don't.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the question.
I guess that means we have to stop. Then, if we know we have a gift that is essential to a worship experience, we have to also not be so needy for a platform or for an opportunity that we find ourselves in situations where now I have this strained relationship with the leader, but it was my ego. I was just looking for opportunity. I'm looking for a platform. So we have to check ourselves too.
And I'm gonna say this: your honesty will always put you in the best place with God that you can possibly be.
That's right.
If you can just be honest with him and say, "Hey, God, I got in this situation and I was looking for an opportunity, and this ain't it." And sometimes it's money, sometimes it's a stage, and sometimes we find ourselves in situations and we are worse off than the places that we left.
Yep.
Because we are looking for something, and honestly, I don't know why I'm going this way, but it's a void that we have.
Yep.
And we are looking for people to fill it.
Validation,
affirmation. We need to be validated. We need to be told every week that we're doing a good job. We need to be posted every week, and we need to be praised. We need the pastor to say, "Thank God for this person." But when you are in the right place, you won't need it. You won't need that, and it'll come naturally on its own. Not only from the Father, but it will come naturally on its own from the right people.
Yeah.
It was a question before that. I think McCray had a question.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. It's just Anthony. Ain't nobody important.
Oh my God. What happens when the relationship turns into a Saul and David situation? Ooh. Well, y'all.
I know that. I thought our questions were gonna be hard.
Oh, they turning up now. It's the same.
They turning up now. So Saul teaches David a lot of lessons.
How so?
Well, let's give one lesson. I think we all know it in the Bible. Whenever Saul is throwing spears at him and David is still playing and dodging the spears at the same time, I believe he gives David somewhat of tough skin. It kind of makes David in its turn. But I think that is a situation that you don't need to. I hate to say it, but you don't need to look to stay in. And never try to deal with Saul on your own. You let God deal with Saul.
That's good.
You never try to deal with Saul on your own. Just make sure that you don't become Saul. Always remain in the place of David.
That's good.
So when that happens, you never become Saul. Always be David. And never deal with Saul on your own, because guess what? You can't.
That's good.
That's good. The most dangerous man is in a place of power who once had the spirit and now the spirit has left him.
Right.
So you're familiar with the spirit and how he moves, but now it's left you. But man, that's a dangerous man.
And he's not only dangerous because of that, but you have to be dangerous. You have to know that he's dangerous because people wanted him in a place that he was never supposed to be.
Right.
And you got to watch out for people that put you in places that you aren't supposed to be in.
Dun, 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 dun.
You're gonna lead us into worship and give us the word.
Do not let people talk you up on platforms that you're not supposed to be on.
Yeah.
Don't let people pray you on stages. No. Don't let them do that.
P-R-E-Y.
Right.
Right, that part.
P-R-E-Y praise.
Yeah. Yeah,
don't. I'm glad you're saying that, because another question Jackson just asked, he says, is there a limit to the amount of ministries a worship leader can serve and be effective? Because nowadays you have praise and worship leaders that they say worship at this church, they at that church, they doing 5 services a Sunday. So I remember one day I went to what convention I went to. It was some national convention in Kojic. And the lady said something in it, and it's been in my head ever since she said it. She said, every engagement is not your assignment. And that's something that I've adapted. Like, it's okay to say no. You don't have to take that engagement. You don't have to take that. I remember one time I was offered to do, I had an opportunity to do, this is the honest truth, 5 services one Sunday. 8 o'clock, go to another church at 10 o'clock, go to another church at 12 o'clock, be at an afternoon service at 4 o'clock, and then do a 7 o'clock service for something. And I was like, oh no, I can't extend myself that far. So as a worship leader and people that do praise and worship, we see it often. You know, you got their worship leaders at this church, and then that church and this church, you know, and I'm not knocking it, but I do like that question. Is there a limit on the amount of ministries a worship leader can serve in and be effective?
Okay, so I'll give you my answer to that in a second, but I'll say this first. That is something that I had to learn, am learning, and I can't answer that question. I believe it depends on the worship leader. Because while we do know that worship leaders serve at different places, some assignments are just heavier than others.
Right.
And sometimes you don't have, and they'll catch it when I say, sometimes you don't have the energy to go anywhere else. Sometimes what you have to do at one place that's it for you. That's what you got to do.
Good.
And God will take care of you if you obey the assignment that you've been given. You don't have to worry about anything else. So I do believe that. And then you don't want to, just naturally, you don't want to stretch yourself too thin. You don't want to stretch your voice too thin. And this is something that that one of my mentors tells me, it is okay to say no. No is good. And I think we're all learning, like, no, I can't come. No, I won't be there today. No, I can't do it. I have a beautiful wife and kids, and I can't go everywhere at every time because I want to be with my family. And so you have to say no, this date night for me. I can't go. Oh, no, we're going on vacation this week. Nah, we ain't going. Oh, no, nope, you know what? I'm not going to be at church today or tonight. We're going to the movies. And that is okay. So I do think, to answer your question, I do think that there should be a time where you kind of where you where you put a cap on it and say, you know, that's the limit for me. I think you should know your own limitations.
You should.
So let's say you're at a church and worship is, the praise and worship team is skilled. It sounds great. There are moments where there is worship, but then there's like this ceiling. Like, it's like it can't get any higher than this. Whose responsibility is it to break through that ceiling? Is it the praise and worship leader or the pastor?
Why y'all coming with these?
It's the truth, because this stuff that happened in church.
Whew. So,
like, should we be looking to the praise and worship leader to take us higher, or is it like a tag team,
or is it
like
intercessors? Is it us intercessors that have
Yeah,
to
like
pray?
whose responsibility should pastor set the platform for that?
Okay, to really dig into your question, there are different reasons why there are ceilings in different churches, and there are different challenges that different churches have. And so I think one, it depends on the challenge, because the challenge could very well lie within the music ministry. And at that point, you know, if you are the head of that particular ministry, you got to do something to get past that particular ceiling, because you could be reaching a ceiling of musical, you get what I'm saying, expectation. You could be hitting a ceiling there musically. You could be hitting a ceiling vocally. Spiritually, it could be a ceiling that you're hitting within the music ministry. It could be, I think that depends on where the ceiling is now, because the pastor is the head of that particular house. I believe that the pastor, through the Spirit of God, should be able to identify what it is.
Mm-hmm. But what if you have a pastor that's not a worshiper? Because I've seen that before.
Is there a such thing?
I've seen that before, where a pastor is not really inclined to worship. Their main thing is just on preaching, teaching, and that's it.
So what do they do during praise and worship?
I mean, they be in the back in the office, and then they get ready to walk out. You know.
Well, then
we've seen that before.
I'm going to answer that question with a question. What are you going to do when you get to heaven?
Exactly.
We all get to heaven
24/7.
What are you going to do? Because I'm not going to say that, but what are we? I mean, if you can't work, I don't understand that comment. I don't understand that, because
I'm just saying, because I've seen pastors, bishops, apostles, when the praise and worship is going forth, they sit in their chairs and they be like,
wow.
And then the minute they get up, then they want to say, "Oh, come on, open up your mouth and give God praise." Oh, I wish I had a church in here. Oh, the Lord's been good to you. Such and such, such and such. And I'm like, wait a minute, we did that about 30 minutes ago. Where you was at?
I think without being anything, I saw that comment.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So God,
I think I would question.
Help me tonight. Please help me tonight.
I would question the ministry. I would question the ministry if the pastor is not a worshiper. Because I think that would say a lot about what we gonna do when we come here.
I mean, think about it. We've seen that before, like where the pastor would literally sit in the back during praise and worship, and then when it's time for them to get, I've seen it where the pastor sit in the back and they would stop praise and worship, and they'd be like, "Okay, y'all, let's acknowledge such and such, get ready to walk in." I've seen it happen, so I'm like, well, whoa.
Hey man, I don't want to laugh. Don't do this to me.
I'm telling you, Glenn, am I making this stuff?
You're talking right.
I've literally seen people be in the middle of the song singing, going in, and they will stop worship because the apostle or the bishop is ready to walk in.
Well, I would ask again.
I know I'm telling the truth. Ain't nobody gonna agree with me tonight, but I know.
I would ask again, bro. What are you going to do when you get to? I mean, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Oh, this is one more person we need to kick out of the real room tonight. But I've seen it, and it is not really based on denomination, but I've seen it in all denominations where, seriously.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but I would ask, like, what are you? The old saints used to say, "This is just a rehearsal." Well, let's rehearse.
This is just a rehearsal. Y'all remember that song?
I mean, if it's just a rehearsal, then the rehearsal is we'll be worshiping. I mean, that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm not sure. I don't know.
I think we really as you know what? Let me ask you this.
Let me say this
Yeah,
because
ask your question because
I'm gonna
mine's
say
I'm gonna go
mine not really a question. It's something Bishop has said before. And when he first said it, it threw me off because I felt like it was inappropriate for church. But I'm like, that makes sense. He said, and I'm just, he said, Christian men should be some of the best lovers because of worship requires vulnerability. And so, ever since I've heard that, when I see people who have a problem worshiping, specifically men, I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
oh, mighty God.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain level of vulnerability. So I feel like if you're struggling to worship, I mean, God, the one who gave you breath.
Like me, I would consider myself a worshiper, but I'm not a crier. But I would consider myself a
And you
worshiper.
don't have to cry.
Yeah,
But to
I made God
acknowledge
that
his
promise. I'm
presence.
not crying.
Like the atmosphere we was in last night, if anybody had been sitting down to be like, this got to be Satan himself. Like, it's just sometimes the worship can be so thick. Like, if you're not worshiping, then I'm like, oh God, how can you be so disconnected? Chris Essence, I don't know about that one.
I got a question though. Because we live now in a day where people feel like, and Mike, I'm not throwing you under the bus, so we got you. So you answer how you feel like you don't want to answer, cuz, okay?
Okay.
You fair. But anyway, people feel like because it's not worship unless it's CCM music. You know, like we categorize like gospel.
Let's go there. Let's go there.
And, yeah, let's go there. Because
let's
you know what I'm noticing? A lot of times God forgive me. Well, you know what? Saints forgive me because God don't have to forgive me because I ain't doing that wrong. But anyway, I think a lot of times we try so big to make, and we as a black church feel like we're not worshiping unless we're singing songs that another culture is singing. And because their song sounds more, that their lyrics sound more like worship.
Yeah, sincere, pure.
Like,
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why do we classify our gospel and we classify their music as worship? But according to Netflix and Discovery app, they just corrupt as. I'm just saying. According to News for Jackson, First Coast News, they just as jacked up as the black churches are. So,
all right.
does worship? Should worship shouldn't all music about God be worship?
Oh, I like the Tri-City Singers and I like Maverick City.
Yeah.
I like Canton Spirituals.
No.
And I like Men of Standard. I like Isaac Curry and I like Chandler Moore.
You ain't call my name yet. You ain't call my name yet. Are you getting to my name at least?
So that's that pride we were talking about.
I'm just saying,
right, that ego.
You gonna call them people?
So
it be on, y'all.
How I feel about that is this. I feel like we are in a dangerous place because we are causing segregation where we should be coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this stuff that we keep making up, it's gospel music. I don't understand how we could. Honestly, I'm lost in all of these different things that we keep doing, and I'm like, hey man, if it's lifting him,
because I always felt like that was like borderline prejudice. Because how can you say because a black artist wrote it and sung it, it's gospel, but if a white artist wrote it and sung it, it's worship?
No, I don't, because there's a dude by the name of Anthony Evans who sings Savior, he can move the mountains, mighty to save. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so listening to it, you would know what color he is.
Mm-hmm.
Cause there's moments in there where he doing some stuff, he's like, oh man, he's singing, and there's other moments and it's like, oh man, this. And I don't understand how we could keep bringing this big segregation when if it's all lifting Jesus, man. I'm with it.
Yeah, I like
Now
when
it
you
might
can
not
go.
be my own personal.
Yeah,
If it's not your own personal preference, then okay. But I don't think that's a reason to bash it at all.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
like it
So
when we can go from a hymn to a Chandler Moore to a something traditional. I feel like
and
that's a good worship leader can mix all the genres
So
and make
your
it work.
worship fluid. Your worship fluid.
so
Yes, I am.
there's a
Gotcha.
one day I was privileged to go to Orlando to do the investor service for Bishop Livingston, and they had us singing these hymns, and I didn't know. I mean, y'all, I was kind of, we had to learn them and sing them, and there was this one particular hymn I just fell in love with, and my brother Tim Clinton, he knows it. Praise to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of if you listen to those lyrics, man, it is just, and it's so old, but it is so effective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And lyrical content to me should reflect on, and I'm gonna be careful when I say this because I love, me personally, I love when we're not writing from a selfish perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But I love when we're writing from a perspective of just giving adoration. And so I'm like you. I just don't. I love it. I love most gospel music that I hear, whether it's from Maverick City or Donald Lawrence and the Tri-City Singers. I mean, I'm for it all. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
That's
about
me. Like I'm more of a traditional old school worshiper, because the lyrics back then
Clark Sisters.
yeah, I like the Clark Sisters, Thompson Community Singers, stuff like, but I do like new music, but the old music, the lyrics just got a little more meat on it to me. That's just me.
Gotcha.
But I'm not going to, my problem was with, when I've noticed with different cultures, I'm not going to downplay another culture and say that's
Right.
worship
Right.
because it doesn't sound like what I'm used to.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
culturally we need to be more, if we're more receptive, because like, look at the songs like Tasha Cobb, Break Every Chain. That came from CCM. Indescribable by Kiki Shear. That was a CCM song. And so we were, oh my God, that's worship. That's worship. But I'm like, we can't say that's worship just because that particular culture wrote that. And although the lyrics are a little deeper and more personal, we still got to be open to the fact that I feel like there shouldn't be a separation between gospel music and worship music. It's all worship.
I'm lost on that too. So it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. It definitely goes back to a pride thing, to say one is better than the other,
Yeah.
or one is more effective than the other, and that's just simply, to me, it's not true.
I think
And
our only standard of music should be like, is it biblically sound? If it's not biblically sound, then that's the only thing that I look for. But I don't care who wrote it.
right, as long as it is biblically sound, that's what
Our
matters.
standard, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what matters. If it's
Um,
biblically
yeah,
sound, that's what matters. If it's Bible based, I'm cool. I'm good with it.
yeah.
Let's sing it. You know. So yeah,
Stanley,
I love it all, to be honest. I really do.
Well, that's
I
because
love
you're,
it all.
you're worship fluid. You're worship. Y'all can tell I just found out what fluid means.
yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
he
gotta
got
be
it
you
worship.
got
from
five
from
times
gender
to God.
fluid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you gotta be worship fluid.
Stanley, I'm gonna sing you a song that's not biblically sound by a
Oh, all
group
right.
that
I know a bunch of them that ain't biblical sound.
it's a group that you love.
What, name it and claim it?
I'm about to get out.
That.
Yeah.
I'm about to get out of here. Y'all about to
How
go.
you how you
Y'all
doing?
going.
That's what I want. That's what I was gonna say.
You
Y'all
by my
going
brother
left
Mike.
now. Y'all going left now.
You asked for the asking,
Y'all
all
going
right.
left.
I know they biblical sound, but I like the song.
But
Y'all going left.
that's a whole nother show though.
Yeah,
So,
we gonna like Mary Don't You Weep. That is total. That is the most don't make sense gospel song ever. Oh Mary Don't You Weep. Tell Martha not the phone. Pharaoh's army drowned in the Red Sea. Mary Don't You Weep. What Pharaoh army drowned in the Red Sea got to do with Mary Don't You Weep? Like, okay, we got a good question. We about to wrap it up. We got a good question though. Who's responsible for creating the sound of worship? But let me ask this question to go along with that. Mike, you can answer both of these. First of all, what is the sound? And second of all, who's responsible for creating the sound of worship?
Okay, so the sound is not 4-6-5. That is not sound. And of course. Musicians will understand what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. The sound is more spiritual than it is literal.
Okay.
Because a sound can literally be created from chords that are not necessarily major chords or what it isn't. I mean, I don't know. The sound is a spiritual sound. I hear people say this all the time, man. Like, no, man, there's something about they sound. It's catching, not because of what you're hearing on stage. It is because of what they've been doing. Here we go in private, and those things create a sound in public. Mm-hmm. And so the sound of worship is necessarily, I believe, it is more so of how our hearts are postured whenever we open up our mouths. And as far as who is responsible for creating the sound, I think it's a collective effort. I really do. I believe it's just a collective effort. So when you talk about sound, I mean, yes, we can, there is somebody that can help create it. But I think if you want to really get the sound of true worship I think it's a collective effort. I don't think it's just on one person.
I agree. Absolutely agree. This was good.
It's
Mike,
good.
We will let you guys know when Mike is doing his worship workshop seminar.
We need it, Mike.
It's in the works.
Need it. The city of Jacksonville needs it.
He's going to have refreshments too, so it's in the works.
He got some cake and punch.
We don't want no cake.
No, I'm just playing.
At least do baby shower food.
Oh my goodness.
We need it.
Sandwiches. Yeah, it's needed. But because I don't think a lot of people, and I know especially here in the city, everybody talks about how bad Jacksonville is as far as support and people listening and learning from one another, but it's really needed because we don't want because I feel like every ministry should have their own particular sound, like, but nobody's really teaching them how to cultivate that, how to manage how to do anything like that. I know some say they feel like nobody would listen to them and they may not be open to hearing, but I do need it though. It's definitely
you just said something though that that caused me to think, because the problem, you said your own particular sound. I think every ministry has their own particular identity.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And the problem is that, oh man, y'all done push me out here on this cliff. The problem is
we got you, Mike.
The problem is we have identity problems.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get out there and we see something, we want to be everything we see because it worked for somebody else. And when you don't know who you are, you want to be everything you see.
That's true.
And you'll bring it back and you'll say, hey, this worked for them, and you'll try to implement something that's not necessarily for, where you are. And so that's, I think that's a big issue. And it comes with having conversations too. I think that's a big issue, with not just everywhere, just people in general, just in anything that we do. I think whenever you don't truly know who you are, you'll go out there and see stuff and you'll be like, yeah, I want to be there. I want to do that. And, God may not necessarily be calling you to be or to do that. So
ain't that something? You don't even know who you are what God wants you to do, and he got
I'm
the
telling
nerve
you,
to go
'cause
ahead and start a whole church.
exactly. And then you got everybody trying to be Miranda Curtis, everybody trying to be Stanley Platts,
Everybody want to
be
be apostle,
Holloway,
this, prophet,
everybody
this.
want to be, Fred Hammond. Find your own identity. Let
I
me
feel like it's
I'm
not
about
enough
to, I'm
people
about to
being,
make,
yeah, it's not enough people being honest about what this process is really like. Because if they really knew the warfare that a lot of us are going through, trying to be who God has called us to, or trying to do what God has called us to do, everybody want to be signing up for this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
we struggle bad. We just make it look good.
Exactly.
Like, we
It's
really
the
do.
grace that we don't look like what we've been through.
We do not look like what we've
Oh
been through.
my.
Well,
That's so
Mike,
real.
I know we're finna get ready to go, but you got something coming up this week, and
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna let you do the honors.
Friday,
Oh,
y'all.
it's Saturday.
No, it's Friday. Don't do that. The 17th.
It's the 17th. Friday. He's supposed to be my cousin. He up it.
Right. That's how.
Friday. I need to see everybody at 5755 Ramona Boulevard. Doors open at 6:30, y'all. Recording starts at 7:00. Get there early so y'all can get a good seat. Man, we are excited. More than anything, we want to create that sound collectively together, and we need you guys' support. This is our first live recording, and so, man, we believe it's going to be great, and we believe that this project, man, is going to be a blessing to the body of Christ, man, and whoever is called to be a blessing to. So y'all meet us at Evangel Temple, 6:30. I'm telling y'all 6:30 so that y'all can get there when the doors open. We're gonna have vendors there. It's gonna be a food truck. My Season's chicken and ribs will be there. So the first 20 people that get in the door, you are getting a $10 food voucher to eat at the food truck that night.
Oh.
Well, 19, because I'll be number one. They got some good barbecue.
Y'all listen.
Telling you,
That food will make you hurt yourself.
it
That
really
food
will.
is so good. Listen,
You and Mark Dickerson gonna be singing at the same time on the same song.
Y'all will have to wait and see exactly what is going
We're gonna
to
be on
happen.
the floor.
I wonder if Mark still got it. Let me stop. Mark
Hey,
is my
man.
dog. Y'all, Mark is my dog. I love Mark.
Yeah, Mike still got it. He's another great one. He still
Mark
got
still
it.
got it. Trust me, Mark still got it. Oh, this is gonna be awesome.
This is gonna be a good time, man.
Awesome.
I want everybody to come with the mindset to worship together.
And it's a live record, so I can't holler because I'm gonna mess up y'all track.
I know.
Yeah, come and holler, make all the noise you want. It'll be
I'm
fun.
gonna sit in the back.
Their mic should be louder so they can like.
But
I've heard live recordings before when somebody was yelling in the background and they had to like cut off the song real fast. I guess because I'm married to a musician, I know it may be kind of hard to do overdubs and all that kind of stuff. So
y'all just come on, Mike don't care. We'll take it over 100 times. They don't care.
No, we won't.
And this is free and open to the public, right?
It's free, open to the public. It is free. It is free. No charge to get in. Just come on and enjoy yourself.
This is a good opportunity if you're a woman and you dating a man, like you want to see what his worship life is like. Bring him here. And if he's sitting there like he don't feel nothing, he's not the one.
Fair, no, don't do that.
Telling you he's not the one. No, because it's one thing for a man to say he love God, he in a relationship with him, but you can't sit in certain atmospheres and not be moved. You're gonna have to show something. I'm telling you. I bet you be worshiping every Sunday evening.
Oh, I do. I goes in.
I know you do.
Because the glory is there. Come on, somebody.
Mighty God.
I follow the cloud. But yeah, I would definitely be there Friday, so I wouldn't miss this for anything. I'm cancel the date just to make sure I'm there.
Oh,
well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I did. I really did.
Bring her. So we can see her.
Yeah. We do it.
Bring the woman of God in.
No. Worship services are not dates.
Not for Stanley. You're right. Because don't nobody want their man on the wall crying. Or we on the date.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and see, right. I don't date women that are saved, so yeah, I
can't. God, get off. Okay,
let them see that side of me. I gotta let them see the Goon side. But yeah, follow Mike. How can the people connect with you and follow you and all that?
So You guys can hit me on Facebook, Michael J. Holloway. If you want my Instagram, it is Michael_J Holloway. You guys can follow us, get the updates. You can go to michaeljholloway.com if you guys want to learn a little more about me and what we do. Man, and all of the information is on my personal Facebook. It's on Instagram. All the information about the recording is there if you guys need it. Listen, we need y'all support. Jacksonville, y'all come out. I promise y'all it's gonna be a real good time.
Absolutely.
Yep. But thank y'all so much for joining us. Thank you, Mike, for all the wisdom,
Yeah.
the teaching.
Yes. He made me proud.
Thank y'all for having me. Thank y'all for
He's
having
the
me.
true son.
Yeah, this was much needed. I hope we provoke you to think about some other things here in the city to help the men and women of God.
It's something coming soon. I promise y'all it is.
Oh, good.
It's something coming soon.
Y'all make sure y'all attend, because once might blow up, the next one may not be free. So while you can go and it's affordable, Friday night at 6:30, all roads lead to Evangel Temple.
Y'all drove down there to Orlando to see Mary
They
Sid
did.
and Kirk Franklin.
And some of them went to Tampa too.
Thank
they
you.
did.
You can come down the street and see Mike. Don't do my cousin like
that. Yep. Yeah, we definitely, man.
I know who you are.
You're right. They did.
We appreciate all the love, man, and all the support in advance that is coming our way. And I love our city, and hey man, let's do it as a collective effort, man. We appreciate everyone.
Yep. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Until next time, next season.
Yes, it's summer. Woo!
Summer.
We'll see y'all in the fall. This is the Real Room.
Peace.